Welcome to Center Heights Productions. Please hit the likes and subscribe down below in your right hand corner. Please subscribe. We need those numbers to go up. This is a channel where we're growing a good community, but we kind of keep it so that we stick to facts instead of going along with rumor. And that's kind of been our motto, stick to honesty. Okay, so anyway, this is a quick review of our back-to-back. We've seen what happened last night. This is St. Louis coming into Montreal. I projected this to be a slaughtering. It turned out to be a slaughtering. The final score today was 7-2. Montreal played pathetic. They don't seem to do, I don't know what it is that St. Louis has over us, other than I see a good veteran squad that just knows. And they did it on the penalty kill, where other teams should have clued into Montreal's errors. St. Louis did today. They really ate Montreal alive on the PK. So anyway, 7-2. I'm going to do this very quickly. Final score. This is the box score. 3-1 in the first period for the Blues. 1-0 in the second period for the Blues. 3-1 for the Blues in the third. 7-2 was your final. Bennington was in nets, played very well. Allen, didn't play bad. He, got slaughtered and was left out to hanging dry. Now he wasn't as sharp, and it's hard to get sharp when you're not getting the ice time. But however, the amount of screens and misassignments by the defense, you couldn't put it on Allen. Overall, I think the last goal might have been on Allen where it came off the boards. Okay, so Jordan Kyrou scored twice, and Torrey Krug had 5 assists. What a game by Krug. And the St. Louis Blues earned touchdown to 2 victory over the Montreal Canadiens on Super Bowl Sunday. How perfect is that that they scored 7 to get a touchdown on Super Bowl Sunday? Just goes together so nicely. Robert Thomas had a goal and 3 assists. Jake Neighbors added a goal and 1 assist, while Colton Periaco and Alexei Cherpachenko and Nathan Walker also scored for St. Louis. Billington made 30 saves for the Blues. St. Louis won its 7th out of its past 8 games. That's pretty impressive. They're really putting a push to make the playoffs. Nick Suzuki and Yoel Armia scored for the Habs. Montreal, while Jake Allen, this is what I'm saying, he stopped 29 shots. That's pretty darn good. And just watching a lot of these goals, the miscommunication, the PK was not good for us tonight. Suzuki extended his point streak to 7 games with a beautiful pass from Slabkowski and Matheson. Slab put that a beautiful cross ice pass with. There's no way Suzuki with Suzuki's touch is going to miss a wide open cage. And Caulfield's streak came to an 11 game end, where his point streak. And the Canadiens lost for the second in a row, back-to-backs. They're just not doing good at home at all in back-to-backs. There's the problem. We lost to Dallas last night, and had a weak period last night, but today was just pathetic. You would have thought we would have come out to make a better performance. We didn't. So the Blues went 3 for 5 on the power play. They just made us look totally pathetic. Finally you've seen a squad, because this should have been happening to us watching our penalty kills. And when some goals were scored, if teams were focusing, you'd have an easy time scoring on Montreal, because you can see cross ice in front of the net. There's always one defenseman that seems to get burnt. That's not hanging back enough for his positioning. Seems like he gets caught up and into a forward position, almost being where the forward should be. So I don't know what this is, but anyway, St. Louis was smart enough to figure it out, and they made Montreal pay for it. 2 out of those 3 goals for sure. They really made us pay for it. And so St. Louis took the lead early and never looked back. Just 25 seconds in. Okay, we're just going to go. And Struble got turned inside out 25 seconds into the game. Cherpachenko just made him look miserable. How you let somebody on the outside, it's a rookie mistake. I'll grant him that. But overall, he was getting beat a lot today. Foot races, he was just making some mistakes and penalties. His game was not on par. He was getting beat one. I would have to say he was, in my books, for today's game, and this is the first game, he was the worst defenseman today. And Matheson would have been right behind him with his errors. I'd say the best defenseman was And you better watch who we trade because a lot of people keep pushing for Kovacevic. He's been pretty steady and consistent. He's been probably our most consistent defenseman through the whole year. So to me, and he's at the right age, you better hang on to that guy. He was probably our best defenseman today. And then I would say Gooley would have been number two today. However, Gooley made some mistakes, but not as bad as some of the more recent games I've seen him. He made more mistakes then. Today he was a little better at it. But anyway, there's a lot of question marks I have for the way this team is coached. And that's where I think Martin St. Louis needs better assistance. So anyway, we're going to go right to here. And then, like I said, there was so much that happened. Jordan Harris ended up injured in this game. To me, the guy got a major penalty and a misconduct. And I got to tell you the truth, I didn't see that as a bad hit. There was not a whole lot of major contact there, to tell you the truth. And it's just the way when Harris went down, I think the bulk of it was him his head hitting the ice. Sorry, I wouldn't even have called that. And then in the day, you wouldn't have, because there wasn't a whole lot of contact, really. If you watch that play over, Harris just fell awkwardly and banged his head. To me, he got pulled out of the game. And probably had a concussion from the bouncing of his head off the ice. I think that was the bigger problem. And sad to see because it was his first game back, right? So they're calling it an upper body injury, which to me it's got to be. And the guy got a 5-minute major boarding and a game misconduct, which I thought was ridiculous. So that's just showing you I'm not being biased to the Habs. I thought the officiating in this game was pathetic. And I think the NHL's got a bunch of pathetic referees. To be quite frank with you, I'm seeing too many inconsistencies. And if the league can't get it together, maybe you got to call in Kerry Fraser and Andy Van Halen and guys like that. Yeah, we questioned them back in the day the odd time, but overall they refed fairly good. And Koharski. Maybe you got to call those guys and to teach these guys how to ref, because what I seen out there in Montreal today, the bad calls were pathetic. Pathetic. And that's even going the other way. So, finally, we're going to go right to the points. I've got to cut this shorter because I have a time thing on my this particular software, and I don't like it whatsoever. Okay, so 3 stars. Torrey Krug had a phenomenal night, 5 assists and a -1. Kyrou had a great game as well for St. Louis, 2 goals. And he always plays us well, +1. Thomas had a good game, and he had a goal and 3 assists. Scoring summary started like this, like I told you. 25 seconds into the game, you knew it was bad news. Torpachenko just turned Struble inside out, went around, walked around him. It was like a walk in the park day. And he, of course, that's why I say even Jake Allen, this was probably one of them. He wished he had back. He might have played it better, but Struble played it really bad. So definitely was error there on his part. Assisted by Oscar Sundquist, who was um, his name came up quite a bit because he was involved in a lot of nitpicky stuff, a little bit of agitation, and also assisted by Torrey Krug. 5:05, Colton Periaco scored, assisted by Kapanen. 10:23, finally Montreal responds with a beautiful feed across ice pass to that Slavkovsky after he stepped up and drew the defense in. He passes it across, and there was no mistake. Nick Suzuki was burying that with an wide open cage. You're not missing it, not somebody of Suzuki's caliber. And it was also, the play was started by Matheson to Slav and then to Suzuki, which kept Suzuki's streak going, and Slav's as well. And then at 15:20, Jordan Kyrou responds, had a phenomenal, this guy's just such a great player. Assisted by Robert Thomas and Torrey Krug on the power play. And like, there was 2 of these power play goals especially that stood out to me, and it was more on Savard and Armia. I don't know what was going on, but it was Armia seemed to be more in the position that Savard should have been in, and they were playing opposite roles. So Armia was kind of the guy, ended up being on the side of the net, where the defenseman should have been, close to his goaltender. And both miscues. They both miscued at least a couple times on the power play. And I don't know why all of a sudden today, the 2 of them, why those, because usually Armia's plays better than that in penalty kills. I don't know what happened. And this is what I talk about foot speed. That is the one knock. If Savard is not blocking shots, you're in trouble because he's getting caught out of position, and that's why I do not like him and Matheson out on penalty kills. I just do not like it whatsoever. I think there's other guys that have more upside on the penalty kill. I get Matheson being on a power play. I do not get him being on the penalty kill. There's just, and like I say, if it's not today, it was more so Savard. Matheson made mistakes in different ways where he was more or less losing it at the blue line of the oppositions. Odd man break wise, bad reads, and getting intercepted, and he got a penalty for that later in the game. So anyway, that being said, then the second period came. Nathan Walker scores, assisted by Braden Shen, assisted by Torrey Krug, and that was 17:49 in the second. Third period, 31 seconds in, Robert Thomas scores, assisted by Letty and Neighbors on the power play once again. That's probably one of the two goals. Then finally at 3:06, Yoel Armia gets a nice ricochet off him from a David Savard shot, and that was also assisted by Struble. And just a nice block in, and of course the announcer made a mistake in the Bell Center, giving credit to Savard for that goal, and you could clearly see it went off. I believe it was the knee of Armia. Definitely made contact with his leg and redirected. Even Billington made that. You could see was signaling that it went off of Armia. And then 7:14, Neighbors comes out and scores another goal on the power play. It's by Thomas and Krug. And that, like I said, that was probably one of those two goals that Armia and Savard really miscued on. Kyrou gets a goal assisted by Thomas and Torrey Krug. Final shots were, and that's what I'm saying. This was a better shot performance by the Habs. Unfortunately, they didn't capitalize, and I think it's more so the talent level of being able to capitalize on your opportunities. And this is why I say we're stuck with a lot of fourth liners, and it's really showing our caliber. We got one line that's doing it all, and that's right now for the most part a second line level. One guy on it being questionable. We don't know how far, if Ure will be a first liner. The other two, we do know they are second liners. But the rest of the team, after that line, these are fourth liners. Sorry to say it. You might have Roy in the future being a second liner. At this point, he's not there yet. But the rest of them, they're fourth liners. And it's showing we cannot capitalize. Okay, so hits department, we led in that department. That's what they say, 20-11. Face-offs were 27-23 in Montreal's favor. Power plays were in St. Louis's favor, 3 for 5. They made us look silly, and they knew Montreal's weaknesses. And we were 0 for 3. And we got into this system on the power play that was pathetic. We had some nice looks in two of the power plays. Just far too much passing, and we were looking good at moving the puck around, but we weren't shooting it enough. You got to start firing pucks at the net. And I don't know what got in their head. This was a problem they had earlier in the year of not firing it on the net. You got to wake up in that department, and that's your power play coach, and who I just think big mistake. And I think at the end of the season he's got to go, and so does Burroughs, Robitaille, and Letowski need to go. See you later. Hasta la vista. Sayonara. Let's get some quality assistant coaches to insulate Marty a bit. Marty's the only guy there that brings a breath of fresh air and has a high hockey IQ and knows how to communicate it. The other three, I don't see the communication. Okay? So that's your penalty kill minutes were 38-29. The Blues. Giveaways were 15 for the Blues, and we couldn't capitalize. 10 for the Habs. Takeaways were 8 for the Blues, 9 for the Habs. And block shots, what? Did we forget to stop blocking shots when we know we got a better team coming against us? Like, this is where your veteran experience comes in, and this is why I'm knocking Savard and more. Savard, he had a really bad day for himself today. And Matheson, because Savard knows and is the example of blocking shots. Well, where was that today? Didn't see it. It's like they turn a switch on and off periodically where they just stop doing the positive things they used to do. So that seems to be a dilemma. Brain cells. Sorry to put it that way. Penalties. First period, Sammy Blaze takes a 5 minute penalty for boarding against Harris, and he also got 10-minute game misconduct, which at 5:18 in the first period. And like I said, and that was a penalty against them. I don't agree with that. I don't think there was a whole lot of contact there, and I just think awkwardly Harris went down and bounced his head off the ice. So I think the officials got that wrong. Struble gets a penalty after that at 15-13, 2 minutes for Hook, and he was just having a nightmare game. That was Struble's worst game. And Nick Suzuki, 18-12, he gets a 2 minute for slashing. It just seemed like the team just was not disciplined today and weren't together. Second period, Oscar Sundqvist, who Montreal is getting under his skin. He just couldn't handle what Montreal was bringing to him. He gets a 2 minute penalty at 5:11 for embellishment, served by Jake Neighbors. And did he ever embellish the hit that Gooley put on him? And Oscar, he got an extra penalty for tripping. Caden Gooley, yes, got called at that same time for tripping, even though it was overacted by Sundqvist. At 13-13, Slab gets a 2 minute penalty for holding, and it seemed like they fell into a cycle of getting a lot of holds. Although, again, I would have questioned it because Slab let his stick go, and really, the guy held on to it. And I think that, I don't know. Number one, I'll tell you one thing. You got to go back to 3 refs on the ice. This 4 refs on the ice. Too many refs in the ways of plays being set up. And you're getting a lot of ricochets, and it's just, you don't need that many officials on the ice. So Pizzetta gets 1 for holding as well at 19:27. Then Torrey Krug, who cares, right? Like Torrey had 5 assists. Is he concerned that he gets a penalty at 2 minute penalty? No. Yoel Armia gets 2 minutes for a high stick at 19:39. Third period comes Mike Matheson, gets 1 for tripping, and that's where he got beat and he had to come back. They made a bad play at the line, and he got beat, and he had to catch up. I think that was a good call. It wasn't a penalty shot. He did make contact with the puck, but he did cause us a penalty, and then we did get scored on. All right, so there's your veterans making these bad timing penalties as well, right? 11:40, Braden Shen gets 2 minutes for tripping. 18:23, Buskevnich gets 2 minutes for misconduct, 10-minute misconduct. Jaden Struble, 10-minute for misconduct, it says, at 18:23. 19 minutes, Jake Neighbors gets a 5-minute fighting with Jonathan Kovacevic. They each got 5 minutes, and this also brought a controversy at the timing of goal was called back from the Habs, which shouldn't have been. Now, there was a goal for the Habs because these guys haven't even gotten into the official fight, and the puck went in the net. Bad call from the officials, and I don't care if it came from Toronto as well. Somebody needs to get their eyes checked in the timing of that. Anyway, good to see that Kovacevic put the boots to Neighbors. And did he ever put the boots? This fight wasn't close. It was nice to see we didn't have Jack-Eye, because Jack-Eye seems to be the only guy willing to stand up for his teammates on a regular basis. That's what bothers me. But Kovacevic has that in him too. And boy, did he put the boots to Neighbors. Beautiful job. And that's why I say this guy is, for experience-wise, we got to hold on to him. Use common sense, Habs fans. This guy, he's younger than Savard, he's younger than Matheson, and he's been our most steady defenseman this year. You got to hold on to him. If the right opportunity, mind you, there's an untouchable list. And so anyway, that's your penalties. Beautiful fight. I was glad to see Kovacevic show some emotion, because, I don't know, Michael Pizzetta, what are you doing? And Josh Anderson, why do you even put him in the lineup? That's a joke. For the effort that comes into Josh Anderson, a big man like that, totally useless. He defensively, when there's puck battles on the boards, he loses every time. And here's a guy that's 6'3", 6'4", and he loses the battles. I don't understand this. And why we didn't trade him last year when he had value, it blows my mind. Because now you couldn't pay a team to take Josh Anderson. Because he's played that bad this year. Nobody wants to go near that. 3 years, You're going to have a time and a half getting rid of Josh Anderson now, and he doesn't fit on any line. Sorry, nice guy, but he doesn't fit. He's a square that can't fit into a circle with the way the lines are. No matter what line he's on, they're not going to have success because he throws the other two off because they can't work together correctly. I don't know. His defensive game is pathetic. He comes back sometimes. However, he never wins his board battles. It's a joke. And the amount of time I see him standing around, I think there's a lot to work on in his game. So all I can say, you better hope you can trade him next year. Maybe he starts performing better, but you should have pulled the trigger last year when he had the high valuability. So we should learn from that mistake. And that's why I say there was a podcast, a certain podcast where a dumb, idiotic comment was made, and I didn't expect this from somebody, but it just shows me that particular party, and I've got a lot of respect for them, but I'm starting to see why some people have started backing out of that because the numbers seem to be going to their heads a little bit. And I'm shocked because he shows a difference in his style. I was always a follower of his, but I'm seeing a difference in his style where he seems to be influenced by one of his panel members extremely high, and he made a very nasty comment towards people because if Habs fans, he made a comment that they're idiots if they think Mike Matheson should be traded. Well, I got to say, you're the idiot for that comment. You're the idiot. You and the guy that reports out of Montreal, who I can see there's not a whole lot of hockey sense there, and you sit back there, you're great at reporting, but your style is changing. I had more respect for you when you could stand behind your beliefs, but I'm starting to notice that you let this guy change your tune, and now then you stoop, you and this pathetic reporter in Montreal start making comments that people are idiots. Well, I got bad news for you. To make the comment you made, you're the biggest idiot for making that comment, and I got a lot of respect for you, but I'm calling you out. Bottom dollar, if there's nobody on the Montreal Canadiens other than Slafkovsky, Suzuki, Caulfield, Gooley, and Jack will be in the future because he brings an element that nobody else has. There's 5 guys that shouldn't be touched in a trade. Everybody else. So don't talk to me about Matheson, because Matheson's numbers for defensive play and plus minus, and they do matter. When goals are scored upon you, when you're on the ice, matters. It always has, and it still does. Yes, he's definitely better than Jeff Petrie. He's a good offensive defenseman, somewhat. He's got our best numbers that way. I still say that there's guys that need to be tried on the power play other than just him because he gets looking, although he's starting to open it up now and catch everybody on the ice pass-wise. But don't tell me if the right offer comes in that Montreal would be idiots to trade him. He's not untouchable. He's got a lot of mistakes in his game. David Savard, who brings in more leadership, and I got tons of respect for. He hasn't got the foot speed. If the right offer comes in, Hughes has got to take it. Because really, you got 3 defensemen when you put Kovacevic as the third one, but he's got age on his side a little more. Of course, he doesn't bring the offense that Matheson brings, but he's got kind of that happy medium, and he's been the most consistent defenseman. So we might want to watch out as fans. A lot of people were throwing Kovacevic's name out there for a trade and throwing out Harris's name for a trade. These are guys that are more consistent and don't make the mistakes just because they don't have the big numbers on scoring. Use some common sense. But to me, to that idiotic comment that you don't trade Matheson, if the right offer comes in, you trade Matheson. You can find another veteran defenseman in the offseason if you choose to. We got a log jam coming. These kids got to start playing. And yes, we do need leadership in there, but you don't hold back if you can get a good return on Matheson or Savard. Now, the more likely one is Savard, right? That's what we'd all think. But if Matheson will bring in more, if he gets If Hughes gets that the correct offer for Matheson, you take it. You don't make the same mistake you made on Josh Anderson last year, and then the value drops the following year. You want another big mistake? That would be the mistake. So please, insulting other Habs fans and you being supposedly experienced in whether podcast or whatever you want to call it, in reporting, really was shocked that you made that comment, because every person's got a right to an opinion. And let me see, did you ever play hockey? Don't think you did. What happened to keeping your character? It seems like this podcast thing kind of is starting to get to you, and I see why people are starting to not like your program, because they're seeing that this clown who's a reporter in Montreal that comes to you seems to affect your opinion. You sway, and then you get insultive. You got no right to be insultive. None. So I'm calling you out. And I got respect for you. Had a lot of respect for you. Starting to lose it. Starting to lose it. Because that reporter in Montreal has no hockey sense that you get swayed by. We know who we're talking about. And you, whatever happened to having the balls enough to stick with your own opinion and have your own mind, you lost having your own integrity of your own mind. There's a shot at you for taking a shot at a bunch of Habs fans. Because bottom dollar, I just named the 5 players that shouldn't be traded. And out of the 3 older defensemen, Kovacevic is the youngest, and he's had the most consistent as far as not making a tons of errors. Doesn't have the offense Matheson's had, but he has the age. He'd be the one out of the 3 I'd keep for sure. And if you need to go, like I say, in free agency and get another veteran defenseman, you can. But if Mike Matheson can draw in, which he probably is the guy that can draw you in a good value, you take it. You take it. Yes, he's better than Jeff Petrie, but his plus minus, the amount of goals that are scored when he's on the ice is bad. And I do not know why any coaching staff like this can't pick up on the fact that when him and Savard, at least with Savard, I understand it a bit more. I mean, it's kind of a two-way thing. If you could put half of Matheson into Savard and put it together, because Matheson has the foot speed, Savard doesn't. But Savard has the block your shot thing, doesn't have no foot speed. Shame. But these two are terrible on penalty kills in my books. They get scored on a lot. And they're continually, one of them's always out of position, and Montreal gets burned, at this crisscross pass. And one of them is not in their position, and it can continue. So if you're utilizing him on the power play because he scores, then fine, do that. But put somebody better that has better penalty kill numbers. Use your common sense. Like Kovacevic has better numbers. That's who I'd be relying on, leaning on. Maybe him, and you try Gooley, or you switch some other guys into this package. But anyway, that being said, that's all I got to say. But I was just disgusted with a comment that came out of that particular podcast. And there's a lot of podcasts making, they'll make dumb comments about false trades because it's their opinion. We counter those periodically, but I had to, because this was one I follow a lot. And thank God for that channel, Like Junkies, because it seems like him and I are the only ones that really stick, and Chris Nyland, of course, sticking to the facts and what we see. So anyway, that being said, thank you for joining me. We will give you a review Tuesday night after the Anaheim game. Then Montreal plays against them. That's hard to say how that game will be played. Who God knows. I expect to see Primo in the net that night. It's probably the easiest challenge. But anyway, thank you for joining me. Where's Puck Drop First here at Center Hice Productions. Tell your friends and family, please hit the like, subscribe. We really need your backing on this. Pass the word around, and we will catch you Tuesday after the next game for the Habs against Anaheim. But go Habs, go. I'm so happy this gets us a chance at a better draft. So with that being said, we'll catch you in the next review. God bless.